This doesn't look quite right. Try something else. So, this looks a little bit different than the last video, and there's a good reason for that, because today we're talking about focal length and how that affects your image, how it makes it look, and how you can use that creatively. Okay, so first off, what is focal length? Simply put, it is the distance between the lens and the camera's sensor. There's a lot more to it, and it gets a lot more complicated, but that's like the basic, technical information that you need to know. The practical information is that it will be represented on your camera in millimeters. The lens I'm filming on right now is a 50 to 100 millimeter, and we're filming at 50 millimeters. The other lens that I have is an 18 to 35 millimeter. Now, what do those numbers mean? What does that translate to? Think of it as the lower the number, the wider the image. The higher the number, the more zoomed in the image is going to be. So what does this have to do with faces? Well, when you use different focal lengths, it can warp and distort the face in different ways. Right now, I'm filming on a 50 millimeter lens. This is what's considered the most true to life focal length. This is kind of what the normal eye perceives, and it's what a lot of people use as kind of the default focal length for filming faces. When you're going above that, it's usually because you're filming from far away and you want to get nice depth of field. The higher the focal length, the more depth of field you're going to have. For example, I'm filming this video at the exact same aperture as I filmed my last video, but there's a lot more depth, there's a lot more separation. I actually filmed the opening shot of this video at a lower f-stop than what I'm filming on right now, but there was less depth because when you shoot at these higher focal lengths, it compresses the image more, and so you get more of that depth.
You can't hide who you really are forever.
This scene from Better Call Saul is a perfect example of different focal lengths used to express different emotions. So in this scene, there's two main shots I want to focus on. This one being the first one of Howard. This shot is filmed on a higher focal length. So one, it separates him from the background, it hides what's going on behind him, but it also makes him look more natural. He looks relatively normal. This shot is then immediately followed by this one of Saul, which is filmed on a wide-angle lens, and it gives his face this weird, distorted look. He's off, he's in shock, he sees who's behind Howard, and is terrified. And all of that is conveyed, one, through the acting, which is fantastic in the scene, but also through the focal length, and we can see how weird and distorted Saul looks, especially when it's compared directly to Howard. This is a perfect example of how focal length can be used to enhance storytelling in film. So, to recap, 50 to 85 millimeters, that's what feels natural, that's what looks the closest to what our eyes perceive, and it's a good way to just film a normal close-up dialogue scene. Anything lower than that, when you get to a more wide-angle shot, if you use that for a close-up, it can make your character feel off or sick or distorted in a weird way. They don't feel quite right. Anything higher than that can give the character the opposite effect. They can feel like they're in power, they can feel like they have control, and it also will help isolate the subject because at higher focal lengths, you have more depth of field. And of course, these are just guidelines. Take this information and apply it to your work in whatever way you see fit, whatever fits your story the best. Bend the rules, break the rules, but learn them first, understand them first before you do that.